Humans now have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. You've probably heard it before, 8 seconds for us, 9 for a goldfish. But do we really lose to a goldfish, of all things? The thing is, this claim basically falls apart as soon as you trace it back to its source. But even if that statistic is just a myth, why do we all feel like we really are suffering from brain rot? So to confirm our worries, we just gotta test it, right? But the human attention span is very hard to measure. After all, it is dependent on many factors like motivation, interest in topic, tiredness, and so on. So instead of measuring attention span directly, scientists decided to take a different approach. They would measure how often we switch tasks while we're working. One of the best known researchers in this area is Gloria Mark. In 2004, she and her team got permission to track how often workers switch tasks during a regular workday. Back then though, the best available tool they had was just a stopwatch. So the researchers had to follow each worker around and manually measure how long they spent on each task before switching. Thankfully, later as technology improved, they started to use software to measure this automatically. So, in 2004, the average time spent on task was 150 seconds. Then in 2012, the time dropped to 75 seconds, and more recently the number has dropped to even lower 47 seconds. Not quite the promised 8 seconds, but still a dramatic fall. But what does this really prove? It could be that it's not that we're losing our ability to focus, but just that our current environment forces us to switch tasks more often. But that still matters, because they also found that frequent task switching is linked with higher stress levels, and the more often we switch tasks, the more likely we are to make mistakes in our work. So if the constant task switching is the problem, we gotta address the elephant in the room, the short-form videos. Now, let's compare platforms like regular YouTube with Shorts or TikTok. On a regular YouTube, the algorithm recommends videos, but you still choose what to click. While you're watching, you can see your other options, so you know what to expect when you click off your current video. And since you chose the video yourself, you usually give it some time before switching, unless it gets too boring or becomes something you didn't click for. But when you look at platforms like TikTok, it is almost the complete opposite. On TikTok, you spend the majority of your time in a feed. The algorithm chooses for you. You can only see one video at a time, and you usually don't scrub through the video to skip the boring parts. So when the video is even slightly boring or confusing, your easiest option is just to swipe. And since you can't see what the next thing will be, it becomes much more compelling to do so, because the next short might be the funniest thing you've seen all week, and it's just one swipe away. And clearly this design works. Too well, even. Just look at how many companies are starting to create their own versions of the TikTok feed to get more users. This system trains our brain to escape boredom as soon as possible, but in a real world and in the work that is important to us, boredom is always gonna appear, and then we will be more eager to escape those dull moments instead of sitting through it and finding a solution. But that is just a theory for now. We are only speculating that shorts can cause that harm, so to confirm it, we have to prove it. And luckily for us, there are a few studies that researched exactly this. Researchers in Germany conducted an experiment to find out what just 10 minutes of scrolling can do to cognitive performance. There were 60 participants with an average age of 25. They were put into one of 4 groups. All groups did the exact same tasks, but each group spent their 10-minute break differently. One group did nothing and used no screens, one group scrolled Twitter, one watched a normal YouTube video, and one scrolled TikTok. Then they did the same tasks again. So, which group got significantly worse results? Only one showed a major drop, the TikTok group, but not on everything. The task was simple. Participants were shown words and fake words, and they had to answer if it was a real word or not. But every now and then, a special word would appear. It was either green, blue, or purple. And for each color, they had to remember a different button to press. They were all told about this special rule before beginning. So, when we look at each group's results, when it came to determining if the world was real or not, no group had any changes after the break. But on the color word task, where they had to remember the extra rule, the TikTok group was the only one that got worse results. TikTok seemed to affect perspective memory, the ability to keep an intention in mind while doing something else. We rely on this type of memory every single day. For example, when we remember about taking medicine before bed, returning a call after a certain hour, or turning off oven after 40 minutes. We can all do that thanks to perspective memory. But memory is only one part of the story. What about thinking? What about the ability to slow down and not fall for the first answer your brain throws at you? A 2024 study called Swiping More, Thinking Less tested analytical thinking. In a first experiment, people either spent 30 minutes reading an ebook or 30 minutes scrolling TikTok. Afterwards, they did various tests, one of which was a cognitive reflection test. Here's an example what one question would have looked like. And when you first look at this, first instinct is to answer 10 cents, which was also the case for me. Only when you slow down and do the math, you realize your mistake. And in this test, the TikTok group scored significantly lower. They were also more likely to believe in fake news and negative news. But the really interesting part, in my opinion, came in the second experiment. The researchers wanted to find out, does the content type matter in this? So one group watched short videos of cute animals, the other watched science videos. But there was a twist. Each group had two types of people, those who could freely swipe and those who were not allowed to. And the result was clear. The content type mattered way less than swiping. It wasn't what people watched, it was how they watched. So the brain rot is not really caused by these AI slope videos as you would think initially. Any type of content can do that harm. It's the mindless swiping that pushes our brain into autopilot, where we are worse at holding attention, worse at analyzing, and more likely to think on more of a shallow level. Which brings us to the real question, is there a way to use shorts in a healthy manner? You see, a short video can still be good. It can explain an idea, show you a solution to your problem really quickly, make you laugh, or even introduce you to a creator you would never find otherwise. The problem is not one short video, the problem is the infinite feed. The same system that can show you something cool can also make it extremely easy to watch 40 other things on autopilot you never chose to watch. But at the same time, I believe that we can still use short-form content in more of a healthy manner. For example, if we seek out videos ourselves and watch them with intention, only watch something we consciously chose to watch, then probably we will enjoy our time without as much harm. But this is quite nuanced, so I'm curious. What do you think about this? So even if the goldfish statistic was fake, we can't really blame ourselves for believing it. We could all feel that something was off. And these studies more or less confirm the existence of what we call brain rot, because these platforms trained us to escape boredom so quickly that sometimes even 8 seconds feels too long. If you want more videos like this, subscribe. And if YouTube is right, this video should be worth your attention too. Until next time.